Hello there, you're watching RTV News with me, Jane Mutoni. The Democratic Republic of Congo is now part of the East African community. The governor of Rwanda's central bank has noted that the country is without a doubt going to feel the effects of Russia's war in Ukraine. News in details. Now, President Paul Kagame has toured the BioNTech facility and held a meeting with its CEO where they discussed the upcoming groundbreaking for the BioNTech modular system in Rwanda that will manufacture COVID-19 vaccines as well as malaria and TB vaccines currently under development. The Rwandan head of state commended the impressive technology the company uses in manufacturing process. BioNTech SE is a German biotechnology company based in Mainz that develops and manufactures active immunotherapies for patient-specific approaches to the treatment of diseases. Moving on, the Democratic Republic of Congo is now part of East African community. It has been 4 years since the country applied to join the bloc, and the acceptance of the DRC to the East African community was announced by the current chairman of the community, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, as the heads of state of the bloc met virtually on Tuesday. Take a look.
The Democratic Republic of Congo becomes the 7th country to join the community, becoming the biggest of all the member states, in fact larger than all the other 6 combined.
Today, as the chair of the East African community, I proudly and warmly welcome our brothers and sisters from the Democratic Republic of Congo to the East African community, and we look forward to joining hands in strengthening our community together. Working together, we have more to gain than when we are separate. Indeed, the people of the Democratic Republic of Congo and those of the East African community have already moved ahead and integrated in various aspects of life, including language, social, as well as economically. To you, our dear brother, President Felix Tshisekedi, we welcome you to the summit of the East African Community Heads of State and Government.
The DRC joining the EAC means that the country's GDP will now increase by close to 50%, while it will go up by an average of 25% across the bloc. President Paul Kagame also took the time to welcome the Congolese into the community.
I congratulate our brothers and sisters from the Democratic Republic of Congo and welcome them into the East African community family. Rwanda commends the Council of Ministers and the East African Community Secretariat for speeding up this admission process. I urge all organs and institutions of the community to accelerate the full integration of DRC into organization in keeping with the roadmap approved by the Council of Ministers. Rwanda stands ready to play its part in this process. Before I conclude, allow me to extend our condolences to the government and the people of Uganda for the untimely passing of their Speaker of Parliament, Right Honorable Jacobo Olanya.
On his part, President Antoine Felix Tshisekedi of the DRC noted on the significance of his country being accepted into the EAC, pointing out that the integration has far too many benefits to be ignored.
Cette journée marque un moment historique pour mon pays et pour les peuples d'Afrique.
Today is a historic day for my country and for all Africans in general because it has opened up a way for the establishment of uniform policies and judicial processes with those of Eastern Africa, as well as benefits such as the eastern, northern and southern parts of my country becoming part of the same airspace as that of the EAC, and the significant reduction of communication costs between neighboring countries. There will be greater levels of cooperation and lower costs of doing trade along the central corridor for our countries. Customs for goods at the Mombasa and Dar es Salaam ports in Kenya and Tanzania, respectively, will also be cheaper. And there is also the matter of working closely together on security issues, addressing the problem of armed groups in the country and abroad, as well as terrorism in the east. Economic and investment opportunities will also increase in the EAC because of Congo's natural resources, and tensions between our countries will reduce, replaced by regular dialogue on the issue of our common interests and those of all Africans. The acceptance of the DRC into the EAC means the bloc's population has now grown to 267 million people, and the leaders of the member states have asked that the finalization process be sped up.
The governor of Rwanda's central bank has noted that the country is without a doubt going to feel the effects of Russia's war in Ukraine, pointing out that close to 60% of the wheat Rwanda imports comes from the two countries.
Gwangomga made the observation as the bank presented its monetary policy and financial stability report on Tuesday, pointing out that Rwanda needs to find alternative sources for the goods she has been importing from Russia and Ukraine. There was a lot coming from Russia and I believe Ukraine also. That is now no longer able to reach international markets because of the problems there, resulting in a rapid increase in the prices of petroleum products. That is one aspect of the problem. Then there is the matter of fertilizers. I believe that close to 40% of our fertilizer imports were being sourced in those two countries, so their cost also went up, and their scarcity is bound to rise also. So the government and the private sector have been looking for alternative sources. Then there is wheat. I believe that close to 60% of our wheat imports are from those two countries, so that inevitably affects the prices in general, inflation.
Ibyo rero bihita bigira ingaruka ku biciro byabyo, bikagira ingaruka muri ya inflation mu biciro ku masoko muri rusange.
The National Bank of Rwanda also officially launched an online financial services portal that will help people to properly navigate the sector and identify where and how they can get the best services, as was noted by the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Soraya Kuziaremye, who pointed out that having access to such information is key when a person is trying to decide which bank to turn to for services. The report also noted that thanks to measures introduced at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, the country's financial sector continued to do well last year, with banks registering an increase in their assets, now at slightly more than 5 trillion Rwandan francs, up from 4.3 trillion in 2020, and microfinance institutions saw an increase of 18.3%, reaching 421 billion, up from 357 billion during the same period.
Some residents of Rusizi and Nyamasheke districts who have been supported by the World Vision Organization in terms of creating jobs have expressed their gratitude for their support for the past 6 years. On one hand, they pointed out that there is still more support needed in order to achieve another level of efficiency. Through the core project, women and youth are proud to have been helped to create non-agricultural jobs. Us as the Izihirwe Bushenge cooperative, we try to work with women. We did a project, we produce products that are similar to Made in Rwanda products. We make bags for women that are about to give birth, along with the clothes to cover the baby. This would cost 5,000 Rwandan francs. We also make bags that match dresses, plus hats that match. We make all these using local cloth prints, known as ibitenge. Across Rusizi and Nyamasheke, activities of women and youth are visible. However, they point out that there are still barriers to equipment and training for those who need to improve their performance. Equipment such as sewing machines are lacking. We rent them because we don't have the capacity to buy our own machines. They say this as the 6-year-old project in Rusizi and Nyamasheke comes to an end. The governor of the Western Province, Habitegeko Francois, said the administration will continue to help them reach a higher level.
ibyo byose rero ari twe ari abafatanyabikorwa twagiye tubi.
As the administration, together with the stakeholders, we took note of these issues, and we are going to support them every step of the way in terms of providing trainings so that they improve their activities, hence their products competing on the market as well. So we've taken their wishes into consideration, and the partners are willing to help in terms of providing trainings and finding market for their products.
Over the past 6 years, the core project in these two districts has helped create jobs for 38,948 women and 22,306 youth in various activities that have cost 12 billion Rwandan francs. The Ministry of Education points out that the number of girls studying STEM is still less compared to boys in secondary school. This was reiterated on Tuesday in the National Symposium of Girls' Education, which is closely evaluating obstacles found in girls' education and how to overcome them. Olive Nete reports.
The government of Rwanda has made strides in achieving equitable education for girls and has been putting in place and implementing a number of political commitments to eliminate discrimination against girls and women's education. The Ministry of Education has been supporting the government's plan by putting in place programs to improve and empower girls' education. Building Learning Foundation is a program of the Ministry of Education aimed at improving learning outcomes at P1 to P5 in English and mathematics. Through BLF, girls' clubs have been established to educate and support girls in solving some of the issues they face. Some leaders of schools note that these clubs has been helpful.
Some barriers faced our school have been minimized due to daily working clubs. Considering girls' attendance at the school, they attend at 99%. Attendance has been improved, and in our club we develop culture of communication, a sharing experience. We work together so that we collaborate with parents and we try to address challenge faced by the learners so that they can attend regularly, especially girls.
Among the barriers that hinders girls' education include poverty, which leads to early marriage and early pregnancies. BLF has been working to contribute to the progressive elimination of normative, infrastructure and governance-related barriers hindering girls' access to equitable education in Rwanda. The British High Commissioner to Rwanda, Omar Dair, notes that the program aims at ensuring equitable and sustainable access to girls' education.
And what we're focusing on this morning is talking about how do we take the evidence that we've learned to really look at girls' education in particular and ensure that girls are getting good access to education and good learning outcomes. So this program is looking at ways and how can we get girls back into school, how can we ensure girls stay in school so that we create the future generation of female leaders in Rwanda.
Gaspard Twagirayezu, the Minister of State in charge of primary and secondary education, notes that even though the number of girls joining TVET and STEM is lower than male counterparts, they will continue to conduct campaigns aimed at encouraging girls to join so that they can get access to job opportunities like boys.
We also continue to conduct sensitization campaigns in secondary schools to encourage more girls to join technical and vocational education and training, TVET, science and technology fields, and a good example of that is the establishment of Nyanza Technical School, which was transformed into a girls' school.
According to the Ministry of Education in 2019, the total number of girls studying STEM at upper secondary was 65,450 relative to 80,867 boys. In the same year, 80% of students who enrolled in TVET courses for arts and crafts, beauty and aesthetics were female, compared to less than 20% enrolled in construction, building services, manufacturing, mining and transportation. Olive Nete, RTV News.
The Ministry of Agriculture and Animal Resources quoted long-term plans to increase overall outcomes of the farmers today. The outcomes of the first joint research held in Rulindo district between the Economic Policy Research Network and Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, was discussed, where the research was on farmers and agricultural produce. Siti Patel reports.
The first joint research was assessed by Economic Policy Research Network (EPRN) and Food and Agriculture Organization (FAO) to capacitate the farmers to not only commercially sell the agricultural produce but also keep a section of it for the household use in order to decrease stunting in Rwanda. The period of data collection was from July to August 2021. The main objective of this research is intended to contribute to the improvement of livelihoods in small cities and towns, and also to know in what districts on the outskirts of Kigali city are producing and selling. The assessment of urban food systems in the district of Rulindo was conducted.
Ko guhinga ari ugushora ntabwo ari uguhinga kwa kundi twahingaga tuvanze oya dusigaye duhinga bya kijyambere.
To farm is to invest, and now we no longer plant haphazardly and have adopted modern farming practices. In this district, there are many agronomists where they come to us in our cooperatives, where every cooperative has its own agronomist. That is the reason that day by day there is a rise in agricultural produce.
N'umuhinzi yagerageje guteshuka bamwereka inzira.
Research conducted, they analyzed the situation of biophysical and socio-economic components of the food system and mapping of food flows and value chain analysis in connection to Kigali city regions. Food systems were also conducted.
We are doing like on farmers. Farmers, did they have food? They should enjoy the production before thinking of supplying the markets. Another recommendation was like to advise the district authorities to ensure all the available arable land, or the land which can be utilized for agriculture, to be utilized, be it through cooperatives or individuals, but make sure we can maximize the capacities of using the agriculture available land.
They will develop recommendations for a resilient food system based on a situational analysis in the district of Rulindo and policies which will favor the farmers for more positive outcomes. They will also link the farmers with the markets, and sustainable food produce will be implemented. The solutions pointed out by the researchers and the ministry are to necessarily and imperatively to radically change the current food system.
We implement the Vision 2050 of the country, where we are saying that by 2035 we have to multiply the output from agriculture 80 times from what we have today by 2035, and 15 times of what we have today by 2050. And then to be able to continue measuring the progress, we have to set up baselines. And once from those baselines, we develop the targets according to available resources and also activities that will be implemented. We evaluate ourselves where we are so that we can come up with new tactics to make sure that we are on track. One is intensification, and also it is extensification, expansion of areas. Then when you are talking of expansion of areas, we are in our strategic plans. In our strategic plan, we aim at producing vertical. The side of intensification is exactly the use of the productivity enhancing the factors enhancing productivity, mainly improved seeds, fertilizers, water, because the government has a strategy of increasing the land and irrigation. For example, by 2050 we'll be having 600,000 hectares under irrigation. And then also to continue bringing on board the fertilizers which are cheap, which are affordable to farmers, and they customized to the type of the soils. Training farmers on the best practices of agriculture productivity, while also there are support in post-harvest handling, as well as linking them with the markets. Also, we continue attracting the private sector to come and invest so that agriculture can become really real professional.
Their goal is to build back better to develop urban food systems for the next decades, like economic sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sustainability. Siddhi Patel, RwandaTV.
And on behalf of the entire news production team, thank you so much for your company. I'm Jane Mutoni. Bye for now.